Dear Venerable Sister, the Dhamma Prince, is the time to start today's Dhamma talk. To start the talk, you may all consent with 3 times, sadhu, 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 sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Evametan ko auso sila visuddhi citta visuddhattam. Sila visuddhi citta visuddhattam. Citta visuddhi ditti visuddhattam. Iti. Dear Dhamma friends, today is the 11th day in our retreat, and accordingly the 11th talk, and all the talks are delivered as a series based upon the particular sutta known as the Rathavinitha Sutta. And there at the beginning, in the dialogue, Venerable Punnamanthaniputta is not giving a positive answer to the each and every purification, even though they are very essential and very important and virtuous. He just hints the disadvantages of the flaws of each and every. Therefore, he denies to recognize that as the purpose of the living of the holy life, the celibate life. But in later, Venerable Sariputta strategically put the question in such a way, if that is the case, if you are not living, what is the purpose of them? I can't understand. That is how the second or third episode of the Sutta, Venerable Punnamanthaniputta is going to give, how they are linked each other, working in a chain reaction, starting from the Sila Visuddhi, the virtues, that helps promote to the Chitta Visuddhi, that is the purification of the mind. And then when the Chitta Visuddhi purified, and once that purification happened, that is the purpose of that Chitta Visuddhi is to leading towards the Ditti Visuddhi, that's the purification of views. So one is each leading to the other. So therefore they have their due pragmatic and practical value. And when and where its practical value is being served, one must be leaving aside and go for the next stage. And accordingly the dynamism, the progress is going on. And when it is happening again and again, each time you must understand how this chain action is going, keep on going, even in each and every single successful sitting. Meanwhile, there is a kind of internal permanent kind of changes also going to take place. But before such a permanent irreversible change is going to happen, 1001 times these chain reactions, chain actions are going to take place. And when that is happening, it is called worldly knowledges. And once the familiarity comes, the mastery comes, maturity comes, it going for a permanent kind of changes, and then onward it is leading to transcendental level and going to the supramundane level. And that is how the whole series is being explained. So, yesterday we discussed about how the Sila Visuddhi, or the purification of virtues leading to purification of the mind. And today, the next link, whenever the mind is purified, or Chitta Visuddhi reached, how it leads to Ditti Visuddhi, why it should lead to Ditti Visuddhi, when accordingly, when the Ditti Visuddhi happened, how one can understand it, and what are the benefits. I think that is the way we have to look into the problem, the phenomena, the situation. So Chitta Visuddhi is known as purification of the mind. So therefore, one may easily, or one can ask a question, if the mind is purified, and that is, why not that become the end? Instead, what is the necessity of this purification of views? Because generally people understand this is the cultivation of the mind, or purification of the mind, that is the ultimate of life. But as far as the 7 stages of purifications are concerned, purification of the mind is just the second stage. And then it leads to it has to lead to this purification of the views. Otherwise, it is not well done, not completed. Not only that, it can lead to a lot of misunderstanding and the complications. So, unless otherwise one is really leading it into the proper way towards the Ditti Visuddhi, the problems can happen. That is why Ditti Visuddhi, Chitta Visuddhi, Yavadeva, Ditti Visuddhattam. The purpose of the Chitta Visuddhi is not to stop at that level, but to facilitate the next stage. So it is becoming more subtle, becoming more refined, becoming more, in a sense, critical, important, one to proceed from the Chitta Visuddhi to Ditti Visuddhi. So, even though stage by stage the person is being purified, more and more you go to a higher stages, your calibration, the monitoring must be very subtle. Otherwise, if you fail to do that subtle calibrations, the complications also very subtle. So therefore, more and more you go there, you must be really prepared for this fine tuning, the adjustments, and if that is the case, progress will catch the momentum, and you are bound to get the results in this very life. So therefore, once the person is purified mind in terms of getting rid of 5 hindrances, why one should be careful or immediately take action to go to the Ditti Visuddhi. As far as the Ditti Visuddhi is concerned, that means different views and the network of views, the best sutta you find in the teaching of the Buddha is the very first one, in the Dika Nikaya known as Brahmajala Sutta, where the Buddha has mentioned 62 kinds of views that can happen. All the type of wrong views possible in a human mind are all being discussed and presented in the Ditti Visuddhi, and it appears like a jungle. So much of the possibilities to get lost. But whenever the Buddha explaining each and every ditti or views, he never in the sense look down them. He says each and every ditti or views coming out of its due touch. They are not merely mental proliferations. That particular person is vehemently and fanatically adhere to that kind of a view because he is having a direct touch or kind of appropriate or relevant base upon which only they arrive at that kind of a view. And as far as the base is there, he has his own reasoning why he has caught up into that view, and therefore Buddha, having this his omniscient knowledge, he rather sympathized, telling as far as that particular person is believing this kind of set of values, definitely he will fall into that view, and therefore each and everyone has its own base. But recent workers, they have analyzed these 62, they say 49 out of 62 happening for the people, those who have good concentration. If you have no concentration, no problem of ditti. 13 out of the 62 is those who have a very sharp rational knowledge, or so inquiring mind. So you have to understand, ditti become a problem for only people, those who have a good concentration and a wisdom. Those who have no concentration and no wisdom, their trap is not at the ditti level. So if we start from the beginning, those who have not taken any spiritual path, just entertaining the sensuous pleasure, their main trap is the desire. They are desire bound, and their main aim is to have the sensuous pleasure, or in the first Western terminology, sexual pleasure. So that is simple. Anyone can understand why these animals are fighting each other, and their existence is easily, you can explain in terms of sensuous pleasure. So those human beings, those who have not taken any spiritual path, or in the sense we can say materialists or atheists, or according to the present day terminologies, they are not believing any religion, they are not believing any spirituality, they are simply living for the maximizing of the pleasure. So that is tanha, the desire. The next important and interesting thing is, some out of this population take spiritual path, something like generosity and the virtues. The generosity is the only way to understand the bottleneck, that the desire, sense pleasure, maximizing of the pleasure, the hedonic kind of thinking is the main bondage to the society, the samsara, or the perpetual life. So therefore, one develop the antidote, the generosity, giving up. And that is the starting point for the spiritual life. But if someone is going furthering of the advancing towards the moral responsibilities, even the commentaries accept the present, then onward they will become hateful characters. Anyone going to take virtues as seriously, they are naturally self-critical and critical to the outside. Again, I am going back. If someone is not concerned about his spirituality, their main aim is, or main thing in the life, basically, could be basically explained through this sensuous pleasure. So their main thing is the desire. Whenever someone is going to take virtues as such, or moralists, they are naturally, the tendency or their behavior easily can be explained through the hate, irritability, fault finding, self-criticism, expecting everything to happen in the orderly manner, work to rule. So such people are towards oneself as well as towards outside, they are naturally hate kind. So now that particular person not stopping at the generosity, not stopping at the virtues, and if someone is advancing to from virtues to the concentration, then onward only the ditti is going to become the bottleneck, obsession. So when and where the meditation going to become successful, you are exposing to this trap, this network of the views. So therefore, with the Brahmajala Sutta, the Buddha is explaining the appearance of the omniscient one, the Buddha, into the world is not to teach generosity. Of course, they are teaching that's a part and parcel, and not to prescribe virtues, but to explain the trap, the danger, when and where someone becomes religious, when and where someone becomes spiritual concern, they are not driven by the desire, they are not basically driven by the hatred, and basically by the views. So they themselves have to understand it. Otherwise, that itself will develop a whirlpool and kind of a repercussion, kind of a complication. So they don't know why this earlier I had no this kind of a situation. I was just satisfying the senses. Whenever the virtue is going to happen, that become, if you go for Silabhata Paramasa, that means wrong views with the wrong attitude to the virtues, definitely that person will be a very hateful and critical, self-critical, outside also critical moralist. But if advanced through only by concentration happen, these views happen. So therefore, one has to understand, don't stop at generosity level, don't stop at virtues, and here the danger is shown with the red light. Don't stop at the concentration or success in your mindfulness and the concentration. If that is the case, the trap is already fixed. So the Buddha says, my main duty is to let the people, those who have eyes to see, let the people, those who have ears to hear. When this success happens, one has to have the antidote ready, or immunity ready, or vaccine ready, so they can go further. They will never trap, they will not stagnate, they will not caught up in the whirlpool. And so therefore the Brahmajala Sutta one has to read in detail to understand all the possible traps, all the possible views, and most of them are, 49 of them are happening due to the people, those who have jhanic experiences or concentration, successful concentration, and then onward they are arriving at some decisions with their limited purification, and they cling into their understanding because they have their own base. They are not talking with the understanding of generosity or understanding of or purification of the virtues, but they are with the purification of the mind. So therefore they can foresee, they can comprehend the past, they can comprehend the other minds, and they can comprehend the nature, they can comprehend the qualities of the other things, so they can assimilate many things. Whatever they are going to do, it appears to be superior, and ultimately they will caught up with their own results. That is how this ditthi or views are going to happen. So therefore we must be sympathetic to them, because they are really successful candidates. But the thing is, they are caught up with byproducts. They have not focused their whole spiritual life, the holy life, to the final destiny or final liberation without clinging. So Buddha instead giving a proposal or fixing their final object at the anupada parinibbana. On the way, definitely you have to pass this chitta visuddhi level, purification of the mind, and there you have to expect there may be some bottlenecks or obsessions due to the views, and it's a good sign of progress also. But you have to really make use the antidote, the counter propaganda to the views. And in that sense, throughout the 2600 years, we can understand, we have to understand from the time of the Buddha to today, these all kind of views. They are happening with the successful people. They are arguing with their direct touch, and sometimes they are honest. But basic problem is their final aim and not being really kept in the proper place, so therefore get trapped. So it is vulnerable case for any person, so we have to understand. So understanding that flaws and the disadvantages, we have to take care, we have to be ready with the counter campaign. How can we understand, or how can we master, or how can we get rid of these views? And what does it mean by getting rid of view or Ditti Visuddhi with respect to these 7 stages of purification? On that respect, the Visuddhi Magga is the book, standard book that very famous. Earlier it was the Vimutti Magga, and that is being considered as the Mahayana book, and almost the same but highly specialized and improved, and ultimately the Visuddhi Magga became the frame to the Theravada tradition. There it says the Visuddhi, Chitta Visuddhi is Nama Rupana Yatava Dasanam Chitta Visuddhi Nama. The function, the Chitta Visuddhi, the Ditti Visuddhi, Nama Rupana Yatava Dasanam Ditti Visuddhi Nama. Ditti Visuddhi means understanding that there is no such a thing called Jivata or Satta. Instead, there is only mentality and physicality. So, whenever the mind becomes purified, or rather get rid of all the 5 hindrances, then you must definitely or directly apply that purified mind to scrutinize the very object that you have selected to come up to that level in terms of mentality and physicality. If that is the case, you will not get absorbed into the object, rather than you will scrutinize it. You can investigate it. You can penetrate it. You can plunge into it. So that is what does it mean by the Ditti Visuddhi. Ditti means if you have any kind of the idea or inference about the very object that you have taken, that there is enough chances for mysticism or obscure thing attributable to the very object that you use to gain this concentration. But in the insight meditation, and in the person who is concerned about Ditti Visuddhi is using the very object now to scrutinize, to penetrate, ponder it. So when they are, that is why if you take the object of insight, in breath and out breath, anapana or anapana sati, mindfulness on the in breath and out breath, just the air column, incoming and outgoing, is the object. So when that is there, or we can say, mind is rather face to face with the in-breath and out-breath rather than the thoughts, the pain and the sounds, that we can say that mindfulness is continuous with the primary object. As far as the mindfulness is continuous with the in-breath and out-breath, as and when it arises, that makes the mind concentrated, mind become pure. And that means you can do away with Nissarana, 5 hindrances. So when that happens, you make the confidence that, or you can come up to the point that you predictably, you can live with the primary object. So under such circumstances, in order to penetrate, in order to analyze it, in order to scrutinize, you have been asked to sharpen as to see the touching point if possible. That means, up to that point, you may be still with the in-breath and out-breath, but it is immaterial whether you can reduce it to one particular touching point or not. But as far as the scrutiny is concerned, or facilitating towards the insight is concerned, or facilitating towards the views, or purification by views concerned, you have to reduce to a one particular point that is very conducive for you to trap it, for you to corner it, for you to cage it. So once this caging happens, now you have two characters. One thing is in-breath and out-breath. The second thing is the touching point. And there are sometimes you may see in-breath is touching one place and out-breath is touching another place, or in-breath and out-breath both touching the same place. If I have to compare in the walking meditation, left leg, right leg, two different points, but you can continue consistently with the touch or mindfulness and the concentration. Still it is possible. So likewise, in-breath and out-breath may be touching one point or two different points, no problem. But whatever may be, now second criteria introduced. That is to fix the object, so that only you can penetrate. The third one is, the dimension, the third facet is to see the experiential difference, the taste difference of the in-breath experience and the out-breath experience. So when these all come into being, now you can penetrate it. So it says if you wish to have a piece of iron to cut into a particular shape, you have to fix it into the lathe machine and into the chuck. Align it to the center, and then you have to let it rotate in a symmetrical way. Then with the needle you can cut it in a balanced, real circular thing. If the chuck is shaky, if you are not centered properly, then your end product will not be symmetrical. So therefore fixing into the gadget is very important. When the females, when they are fixing early method of embroidering, you have to fix the cloth into the frame so that the cloth is fixed. And then only you can do the needlework. Without fixing, you can do normal stitching but not the embroidery. Exactly the way if you wish to adjust something, if you wish to polish something, if you wish to decorate something, if you wish to carve something, you have to get all the matter very sharp, unshakable way, then only the craftsman can go in the symmetrical and the gradual method. So this grip is most important. That is what we call vitakka. Vitakka must be going to the same object again and again. And if vitakka is jumping here and there, that means you have not fixed the cloth properly. If you have not got the grip, so therefore very difficult for you to predictably say that I am penetrating. So therefore vitakka must be there. And when the vitakka, that is applied thoughts, is there, if it is assured to the same object again and again and again, then onward with the discipline, you can go deep into the object, penetrate into the object, because you have fixed it. That fixing is vitakka, and once the vitakka happens, if the vichara is not going to use, still you are at lost. That means you know in-breath and out-breath very clearly, and you know in-breath is touching this place, out-breath is touching the same place or another place. Now it's the next in-breath. You know it is after the end of the at the end of the out-breath, the in-breath is coming. And you are really know where to look into because it has been already fixed. Now only you can understand how can I discriminate this in-breath from the last out-breath or forthcoming out-breath. And when the in-breath is changing and going to the in-breath, you can understand how this difference. So this is the vichara, the inquiry, investigation or pondering. So these two has to go together. So therefore, vitakka vichara, this is a very micro level. It's a vitakka means assured concentration, assured mindfulness. Exactly the same object is repetitively appearing, and the mind is, or attention is completely disciplined. It is going definitely on the same object. And when that situation happens, the vichara must be there, the inquiring mind and analytical power must be there at least to discern in-breath versus out-breath. So this is how you promote from Chitta Visuddhi to Ditthi Visuddhi. So if that kind of calibration, fine-tuning going to happen, you may see with 10 cycles or 13 cycles, 15 cycles, 20 cycle wise, these are the basic features, basic differences or discriminative features of the in-breath and out-breath. For an example, you may feel the in-breath air is cooler and out-breath is warmer. Or sometimes in-breath is very short and out-breath is long. Sometimes in-breath is very long and out-breath is short. So this is the starting. But you incessant way, you have to add more and more criteria. So when you apply or when you are invited and ready to apply see more and more facets, ultimately you will see not only the difference between in-breath and out-breath, in-breath to in-breath also changes going to take place. Out-breath to out-breath also changes going to take place chronologically. Because now your mind is face-to-face with the object and it is applying again and again. When it's applying, first you see in-breath and out-breath, but naturally in-breath to in-breath, out-breath to out-breath, that is what the Buddha mentioned. At the beginning you see Digang Vasa Santo Digang Asa Samiti Pajanati, and next stage is Rasang Vasa Santo Rasang Asa Samiti Pajanati. At the beginning you see long in-breath as long in-breath, and if you are bound to see the same object continuously, then Rasanga, the short in-breath it becomes. Or long out-breath, short out-breath. So when that happens, that's a very good indicator. The mind is now pondering into, plunging into, penetrating into, and keep the grip continuously. When that happens, yet another way of scrutiny increases. Compare the beginning of the in-breath to the middle of the in-breath and to the end of the in-breath. Earlier you compare the in-breath and out-breath, and in-breath to in-breath, out-breath to out-breath. Once that is happened, you must, as much as possible, employ this inquiring nature, the beginning, the middle and the end. When that happens, you are bound to see so much of facets, different modes, it's called manners, of the in-breath and out-breath, which you would have noticed, you wouldn't have noticed so far, but due to your proper application, the sharpness and the fine-tuning and the calibration, they are going to manifest, they are going to be prominent, they are going to be conspicuous, and that must be promoted to the maximum. So that is why the Buddha says, there are 11 facets as to the gross in-breath sometimes gives rise to the subtlety. And at sometimes the breath becomes very desirable and you feel happy and it is promoting, but sometimes the breath is there but you feel so bored, you feel so monotonous, you feel so fed up with. But still the breath is there. So these two are both equally important facets. Sometimes the breath is appearing exactly at the point that you have appointed, at the end of the nostril. And when you keep on observing, you feel like it is projecting few meters ahead. But the same pattern and the same thing happen, but you may entertain doubt, is have the mind. It is hallucinating, or whether the breath has really gone forward, or internally the external boundary broken, that kind of things going to happen. Sometimes it appears like coming to the center of the brain, internalizing, sometimes going outward. So when these things happens, if you are not really prepared for this penetrating capacity, you may open your eyes and see, or you may entertain doubts, or you may think something wrong. And that is why the Buddha mentioned, not only the breath, any object in the world, any materiality in the world, if you are going to see, observe continuously, there are 11 facets. I don't know, is that the same thing? Now scientists are talking often 11 dimensions of the materiality. A very, very little parallelism, but 11 dimensions are, it's a very common topic among the particle physics. 3 dimensions are regarding the time, the past form, present form and the future form. In the breath also, if you are sharp enough to see and wait and be prepared, just at the beginning of the in-breath, you can see the future in-breath, how it become, for the moment you don't feel it, but you are very vigilant, you are diligently waiting to see the oncoming in-breath, so it appears like something future. And when the breath comes to the middle, under your very nose, you can see this is in-breath, this is not out-breath, this is not the sound, this is not the thought, this is not the pain, this is in-breath. And even after the in-breath ceases to exist, if you maintain the vigilance, the diligence, you can see the past form of the breath. It has already gone perceivable level, but still you are observing it, if possible, to catch the subtlest, or rather imperceivable, unperceivable sensation, because the out-breath has not started. So likewise, you can see, whenever you are going to see the beginning, the middle and the end, the future form, the past form and the present form. And that is, I am talking about the single in-breath. But even if you take the whole breath as one phenomena, when the breath becomes so subtle, when the breath becomes unperceivable, many raise question, then what to do? Then how should I monitor the situation? That is the way you are observing the past form of the breath. You are dead sure you came up to this silent place or space or whole body experience through the touch of the in-breath and out-breath. Knowingly, it went through 3 stages, the gross, subtle and the subtlest. Now you are not entertaining doubts, you are observing the disappeared breath. That means you are presently observing nothing, but you are not losing the heart. You are observing. And when you are observing in such a way, without distracting your mind, entertaining doubts, or without letting the mind fall into sleep, or without opening your eyes, without forced breathing, again you will see very subtle breath is going to start. So that is another future form, another cycle going to start. As and when it arises, you are prepared, because your mind is not bewildered. Your mind is not distracted by sounds, thought or pain. So then again it can start. Likewise, the breath has many facets with respect to the time. As far as the space is concerned, near and far, in and out. And the feeling-wise, desirable, undesirable, all the facets come up to 11. So in the first time when we are discussing about the Ditthivichuddhi also I mentioned, the Buddha mentioned if you take one object in-breath and out-breath, or rising and falling of the abdomen, or left leg and the right leg. Keep on continuously observe, very vigilant and diligently. You can, day by day, you will be reaching more and more facets towards the fulfilling 11 ways, 11 facets. And ultimately you will see, when and where you understand the 11 facets of any object, any materiality, that the kind of a contentment, kind of a fulfillment, kind of a satisfaction going to happen. So that means, that is the point you become thorough, become master about the understanding of individual characteristics of the primary object. This is simply physics, no religious, no any spirituality, but that is the way you sharpen your mindfulness and the concentration, so that once you see 11 facets, with the in-breath and out-breath, or the in-breath and out-breath as a simple, single phenomenon, you will understand, besides that, there is no any mystics. There is no black box. There is no the soul. There is no pit. There is no any being. That is why it called, whenever the purification of the view is completed, any phenomena, right from the beginning, starting from the conspicuous point or prominent point, and incessant way if you are to observe, when and where you finishing these 11 facets, you will see the penetrating mind can penetrate into any phenomena, rather materiality, and there is nothing you can see unpenetrable. And once penetrated, there is no such an essence. There is no pit. There is no soul. There is no ego, or that is called Jivatma over there. If you till you go up to this completion of this understanding, you always entertain a kind of rooms for the ego, so to satisfy yourself or give luxuries, give happiness, everything, because you, more than your materiality and mentality, you believe there is a ego, there is a central point, and that is what the feelings are going to entertain, or perceptions are being maintained, volitions are arising, and the mind is resting. So, but if you analyze the materiality and see, there is no such a place. So that is why it is called Ditthi-Visuddhi. That means that for the first time, starting from the tiny one single object, you keep on analyzing and see. Once this is analyzed, there is nothing, there is no black boxes, there is no unpenetrable point. So up to that you have to go. And there the Buddha is giving assurance, if you can analyze one or the other materiality or corporeality or the form, that is the pattern of the whole universe. That is simply, in the present day it is called holographic. In the holographic diagram, even a tiny little particle explains the whole diagram. Everything is in one and one in everything. So recently, there are few emails spreading this 10 times. That email has been named as in 10 times. It says that it starts with a very tiny atom, and it says that how the atom is being configured. The electrons are rotating around the nucleus, and with the help of an electron microscope, it is been expressing or showing how these atoms are working. They have their own particular the changeable pattern, behavioral pattern. Each and every atom has its own pattern, so therefore it's very clearly indicated. And then it is zooming 10 times, and then you can see there's one tissue. Within that tissue, only that kind of atoms are there. And that tissue you can see, and there are individual atoms, individual behavior of the electron proton, you can't see it. It is zooming in, zooming out, bring it back, and then you can see it's a muscle. And then again it zooming. When it's happening, it's a junction of the one person's elbow, and you can see the outer coating or the skin or the epidermis coming out, and then it is again 10 times zooming. That person is on a water pool and on a floating boat together with the girlfriend. And again 10 times zooming and going up, you can see the water pool nearby the big hotel. And then again zooming, you can see all the hotel and the swimming pool is in the small tiny island. And zooming, and it is at the end of the United States. And then again zooming, go back to the United States. And then again zooming, you can see the whole universe. And when you go zooming, again you can see the solar system. The sun is there, and right round the planets are rotating exactly like the atom showed first. And then zooming back and telling you can see the galaxy, the Milky Way, then the nucleus is there right round, so much of clouds of stars or suns are rotating. So it says this number of stages, exactly the same pattern. Whether you take atom or solar system or Milky Way, exactly the same. So therefore, the Buddha says, you can't understand, you can't comprehend, you are missed the bus because you are changing the object. That is called varietal entertainment. But if you are going for only one object and keep on applying, you can't miss it. Two things. You can penetrate into that particular object, and there you can find it represents everything. The second thing is, if you are to see the same object, instead of the desire, the boredom sets in. The monotony sets in. The desire is the characteristic to the samsara, the boredom and the monotony. Of course, that itself is not the one that is happening due to your the underlying tendencies. That is a good sign you are towards the Nibbana, the relinquishment or dispassion. So when that happens, our mind is completely reactive. Our mind becomes so unrest. It finds ways and means to break the trend. That means we are changing the posture. We are changing the object. We are changing this and that. So ultimately you say, my meditation is no good. Why? Because I can't keep the object with face-to-face. That may be a sign of advancement. But if you are not purified with the views, Ditti Visuddhi, you are ever finding 1001 reasons whenever the boredom sets in. For example, when you are walking in a walking path, for example, if you have a good long stretch of land, flat sand bed, and when you are walking nicely, you can understand each and every step, the foot touching the ground, starting from the heel, spreading middle and end of the toes, it is taken up, and by the time the other heel has taken the weight, and then when it is coming to the middle, the other leg is moving, and it is like a spoke in the bicycle. One spoke is changing the pressure to the other one, and the rotating is happening. So if you can maintain the mindfulness, the Buddha says out of this spoke business, ekaro. Ara means the radius, the spoke. At a time in the bicycle, one radius or one spoke is taking the weight. Other spokes are helping to keep it that in the alignment. So likewise, one leg is taking and takes it to the other leg. And when you are going on, you can see it is, even though it is not a circular in the appearance, leg is taking as a one spoke, and the foot is changing in such a way, it is rotating. So when you go there and go to the end, and when you are turning, you often will find your mindfulness will be shaken and you will be dragged into seeing and hearing or other movements and the wind currents, everything will be distracting because your trend has been broken. So there you can interpret it in two ways. Definitely your intention was up to that point the left leg or intention to move the left leg and the moving action. Intention to move the right leg, the moving action. So you can say the intention and the action is happening in the very the uniform way. Whenever you are turning, that uniformity broken. So therefore there is enough reason, justification for the mindfulness to or wandering mind to set it. But yet another thing is there, whenever one thing is observed for longer time, you develop kind of a hatred or monotony or boredom. So therefore anything coming, you welcome. Anything outside, you welcome. So that itself is a reason, maybe when you are turning, your mind will scatter down. So that is your task. How to maintain the mindfulness that you brought up to this turning point to keep intact till you change it, till you complete in the whole turning process. If that is the case, then the walking meditation becomes more challengeful than the sitting meditation. There you can understand, whenever you are observing the same object, associating the same object, its image becomes reducing. And therefore it is waiting for some other new thing to happen. So that is why most of the marriages are not successful. Before the marriage love and after the marriage love is completely two different things. Before the marriage, no politics, just senses. Everything lovable, fresh and good. But whenever the connection happens, whenever the declaration happens, whenever the consolidation happens, completely different. This has never mentioned by the Buddha. It is that I am only mentioning. It is bad thing to mention, maybe. But it's a very classic example. So that is why the Hollywood people, they don't care. They are changing the object again and again. So same couple come and marry again and again, no problem. So one girl married with one boyfriend and had a child. And when the second marriage is going to happen, the child was a young, nice girl, and she don't know what is going to happen. Now second marriage is organizing, the boyfriend is coming and going. The child has mentioned, for this party I have to come. Mother has told no. So the girl is crying. Meanwhile the boyfriend came. Asked that why this nice girl is crying. She says that she is the child of the last marriage and she wanted to come to the party. Then she says, why not you give me a chance for the girl to come? Never mind. It doesn't matter. Then the girl has told mother, only for this marriage, not for the next one. You can come for this party, but don't ask for the next marriage. Because the third is so, any time it can be the third marriage, fourth marriage. That is how they keep the go. That is why the Buddha says, as far as you are changing the object, you are missed the chance to understand the truth of suffering. Truth of suffering is completely covered by changing the postures or changing the objects. Varietal entertainment is the crucial feature in the modern science, in the information technology, in the infrastructure. So that is how these economies are running very fast until the collapse happens. Until that they thought that it never will collapse. But any system, as far as the samsaric journey is concerned, ups and downs are there. Knowing that, the Buddha, he mentioned, take neutral object, which can be away from intentional action, something in the breath, and focus the attention. And it has two facets, the breathing in-breath part, out-breath part, and focus the attention there, and observe all the possible facets. Don't discriminate. Don't have choice. Don't react. Unassuming way when you go there, once you understand 11 facets, you understand the whole universe. And then only definitely you can go for walking meditation and the day-to-day activities. There are also the intensive method of meditation. Go to the semi-intensive and extensive. Ultimately, throughout the day, whatever the facets, or whatever the posture, whatever the thing you are going to do, it's a matter of observing with the mindfulness. When that happens, you are slowly using the mindfulness into day-to-day activities. And this whole, so far, I made use the materiality as the base. But when and where this materiality being mastered, and if you are assured each and every sitting, if you can go into these subtle states where breath become disappeared or the rising and falling become dissolved off, that is the point Chittanupassana going to start, or the mentality going to become prominent. And that never you should impose. It has to happen. The transition, the synchronization or acclimatization has to happen completely natural. Whenever the materiality becomes subtle, and you must never think that is enough. You must keep on season it continuously to go into the subtlest point, and then either a feeling or a perception or volitional bubble or blink going to start. At the beginning, when you are training into this subtle state, the boredom is the one that is also later you will understand as the unpleasurable feeling. But the day you accept this subtle state and to master it, you feel it is not rather boring, it is a pleasurable. And then the pleasure, and earlier it was the pain. So this change, some people going to specialize, these are the characters, these are the sphere we call the feeling types. And some see the perceivability and unperceivability of the object, the breath. Because so far our whole knowledge, the worldly knowledge, is completely based upon perceivables. Unperceivable we consider as mystics. But now each and every sitting, the perceivability changes to unperceivability. So Buddha is asking, don't discriminate. If the unperceivability happens, consider this also as an object. And the day you understand the transition, the changeover from perceivability to unperceivability, that's a task or that's a challenge for the mindfulness to become efficient. And more you see this transition, the mindfulness becomes very diligent, very vigilant, and there you understand how to put autopilot. So when that happens, when these feelings going to change from pain to pleasure, and the perceivability going to change at the unperceivable level, the volitional or willful involvement into that become quite agitated. You feel like something, sometimes forced breathing. Or sometimes you feel it is something wrong, therefore you have to get up and go. Or sometimes you feel like opening your eyes and see whether this association of these crawling animals and muscle dance on the goosebumps and kind of thing, is it real or not? So kind of the volition is going to happen, otherwise at least ask a question. What is the next? All these are happening due to volition. So one or the other will come. instead of asking from outsider, you have to ask you from yourself whether it is category, it is basically going to the category of feelings, or to the perception, or to the volition. So therefore you have to have a certain amount of theoretical understanding. These all Chittanupassana come under three channels, strands, and sometimes one person has more inclination to one particular thing. That is not one's mistake or any the kind of thing, it's a character, personality trait or character trait. So understanding, and more you let the subtlety of the materiality be intact, more and more your chances to get for Chittanupassana, to understand the mentality, how it's going to work. And that is also slowly fulfilling. Ultimately, you will come to know any moment, any experience can be cut into materiality and mentality. Mentality never manifests without a certain amount of materiality. Materiality never comes into being into your experience unless it is contact with your consciousness. So when that happens, we call an experience, a case. Whenever something becomes a case, or sankhara, or mental formation, it has two sides. And now the physics is asking a special question. Before these material come into contact with the consciousness, was it existing, or at the time of contacting, the existence starts? That's a very radical, that's a very dynamic kind of question, because the world you can explain completely through the energy waves. Whenever you are to experience the hardness, stiffness, tension, coldness, fluidity, they become a kind of change from energy into matter. So when this changing from the energy to matter, it is besides your volitional involvement, or is it due to the will of the God, or it is only happening due to your consciousness. That's a 1/7 of the part in the recent studies in the quantum physics. This says that Schrödinger energy waves collapse into particle only when the consciousness interacted. Otherwise, they are energies. So therefore, if you are not getting involved with consciousness, or volition, or will, or motivation, energies are energies. There are no male energies or female energies. They are not internal energies or external energies. Moment the consciousness is going to have interaction, then you call this is me, my. This is internal. This is not internal. This is me, this is not me. And this is pleasurable, this is not pleasurable. This is perceivable, this is unperceivable. So the moment the consciousness go and interact with, there the energy become a matter. Energy collapse into matter. So if you have a wrong view, you will understand matter is existing even before you experience, and even if the end of the experience, the matter going to continue. But when the Einstein came into the E = mc square, he found the relationship between the matter and the energy. Earlier there was no relation. Earlier the matter was something subject to the gravity, that is Newtonian physics. Energy comes, it is not subject to the matter, gravity, no shape, no manner, but undeniably energy. Whenever it collapses into the matter, it has a shape, it has a manner, it is subject to the gravity. So Newtonian discovery was the matter. He never recognized the relationship between the matter and energy. And therefore, his understanding it's a breakthrough. But when the Einstein coming to see the relationship, now Newtonian physics is something classic. Now it's called new physics, modern physics, and they are the energy and the matter, they consider the equal way. And when that happens, they are already confronted with what is the function of consciousness. Earlier they thought the consciousness which is immaterial, which is mystic, which is not scientific, which is not repeatable, which is not testable, is none of the business of the scientist. So when this energy matter business happened, now they coined the term, the mind science. Their consciousness all of a sudden became a very, very important thing, and for that the equipments have nothing to do. It has on a subjective kind of experience. So this is the age we are living now, and they go into very, very subtle relationship between the energy and the matter, and the phenomena and the consciousness, and the value judgment of the consciousness. Is it happening after the energy collapse into the matter, or whether matter is continuous, whether you see or not? All these came, and they are very sharp, and appreciably very sharp and very sensitive. And only the problem is, before that, 2600 years ago, the Buddha explained everything in a so lucid, so clarity. So therefore now, for the new discoveries in the science, they can't explain and interpret to Newtonian law, they have to consult Buddha. So that is why it says, science take refuge of Buddha. The Buddhist explanation is so radical, it is so vast, and that is the Buddha says, anytime these things can come and disappear, simply you can see how the in-breath gives into the out-breath. Or you can see how the beginning of the in-breath, from unperceivable to the perceivability. And there you can understand how the materiality and mentality come into being, becoming a phenomena. So that you have to be diligent, you have to be vigilant, you have to be prepared. Before the perceivability happens, you have to understand now, in-breath is finished, now out-breath is going to start. Even if it is not perceivable, if you are vigilantly and diligently waiting at the doorway, you see, yesterday it happened me to tackle it at the so gross level. If you are prepared, if you be diligent and be vigilant, you can today catch it one thought moment before, still perceivable. And that's a hope. Next day you have to be still prepared and wait, and then again you can catch it in the one thought moment before. This is a deconstruction, and there one day you will hit the area, how this perceivability and unperceivability change place. And the immaterial thing become a matter, or become an experience, or becoming a phenomena, becoming a case. So there you understand that there is a plasticity in the attention. Untrained mind decides only at the very gross level, because they are not prepared, they are not vigilant, they are not diligent, they are not mindful, they are not apamada, they are pamada. So by training, by sharpening, by vigilance, you can understand the attention change, and that little bit, even one split second before understanding, make a very big change towards your maneuverability, controllability. More you tackle it earlier, you can nip it at the butt level. If you wish, not only the in-breath and out-breath, when the anger going to happen, when the desire going to happen, when the sleepiness going to happen, when the doubts going to happen, more you see, more you tackle it, its tender level, you can control it. That is one of the benefits of this Ditti Visuddhi. And yet another one, the Buddha mentioned in the Nakulapittu Sutta, he says, if you understand there is nothing but the matter and the mentality and physicality, when your body becomes sick, still you can maintain the mind healthy. If you do not understand it, whenever the body becomes sick, the mind is automatically becomes sick. You feel it is your responsibility to become sick and depressed and all the kind of thing. But if you master this materiality and mentality, you can understand how much the internal climatological changes affect the internal and external connection, relationship. Whether you like it or not, it is ever in a flux. You don't take care about that. You won't get committed into that. You understand this is the way jara. That means day by day it is aging, senility. So otherwise, whenever you are holding, this is my body, this is my beauty, this is my youth, and this is my health, and this is my all, whenever they are going to change, you are the very one get affected, inflicted. But instead, if you understand this, the mere mentality and physicality, you can see this is exactly what happened in a tree. They are also having the life, they are also having the propagation, adapting into the climate, everything. But never have any frustration, no depression. But they don't never recognize. That is why the Buddha says, even an axeman come and chop the tree, there's no any malice to the axeman, it gives the shade. His axe, maybe with the handle, wooden handle from the same tree. But it is using against the tree, and still the tree can give the shade to the axeman. But if you are going to recognize this tree, if the tree is going to recognize this is my wood, and using my own handle, and going to chop me, it will cry. But I have never seen any cry for the last 30 years in the tree, in the forest. No, they are no, because they are not recognized, they are not enlightened, they are not with the purification of the views, but they have no this misunderstanding. So the Buddha says, you also can develop, and even your body becomes sick, you can be completely pure in the mind. That is because you have the purification of the views. Even if you have the concentration with the wrong view, you have no that benefit. So therefore, once the concentration happens, that is your prime duty. Make use it. The chance, when you fix the cloth into the embroidery circle, do the embroidery. When the machine is fixed, the lathe machine is fixed, don't go and rest, finish the task. So like whenever the object come into the grip of vitakka, you must always apply the vichara and never incessant way. See all the possible individual characteristics and the 11 facets, comparative with the beginning, the middle and the end. That is the way the samatha change into the vipassana in the sense. Or preliminary vipassana jnana, starting from the views. Otherwise, definitely you will fall into one or the other cleavage. Amount is 62 views. And it is a trap for meritorious people. Either with the concentration or wisdom. So therefore, when and where it is happening, if you are not directing, if you are not guiding properly, that very thing can be a vortex and you will be caught up. So therefore, the Buddha says, the more and more you advance in the meditation, the fine-tuning and calibration must be on time. If it is so, he assured, no more than 7 days or maximum 7 years. But if you are failing to do the necessary adjustment then and there, even 7 lives or 7 Buddhas, it may be dragging, never it happens. So this is the power line has to be connected, and then only the translation going to take place. So 7 stages of purification itself is giving how to get the connection from one purification to the other. So therefore, Ditti Visuddhi is quite an involved thing as far as the plasticity of the attention is concerned. You have to believe it is not fixed. It is not beyond your control. You can control. And you have to make use it by again and trial and error, practicing again and again. More and more you go there, you can gain the plasticity, and more you gain, that means you are not much worried about the changes of your life or changes of your the body, and still you are looking forward to maintain the mindfulness and the concentration, the vigilance. Otherwise, so much of excuses. So much of excuses. You say, I can't keep the body in the proper way, or I can't do this and that, because that when the body becomes sick, your mind becomes sick. But the Buddha very clearly says it is not necessarily so. Whenever the ditta visit is going to happen, instead of aging, the rejuvenation going to take place. Otherwise, senility. So even the transcendental meditation, they have tested. This is if you are doing at least the transcendental meditation, even though it is named the transcendental meditation, it is completely worldly, but anyway quite amount of concentration. They have checked with that vision, hearing and the blood pressure. This is after 60s, the vision and the hearing and the blood pressure is deteriorating 6 times than before. That is the general way that you are losing. But if you are doing the transcendental meditation, that deterioration you can stop by stop up to 1/6 of the deterioration, because your mind is vigilant. So more and more it becomes vigilant. Even the body is decaying. If the body is becoming weak or age, mind is alert. So that is how you can make use the maximum time, or otherwise you can say, this is the way you can live. Otherwise what you do is dreaming. What you do is trying to live. That means you are rather living in the past or future, or other places, or in others' eyes. Whenever the mindfulness comes and sets in, you will be here, now, I am. That is the thought moment of living, and specifically when you are dealing and penetrating into the primary object, that living will be as very sporty, very, very radical, very, very dynamic. So that is how we can keep the teaching of the Buddha also dynamic, and our senility also was stopped, and as much as possible imposing the rejuvenation, and that is how the living going to take. So these are some of the broader kind of benefits you can earn, and that this kind of thing will become very prominent from the Chitta Visuddhi onward. So therefore one has to be really opportunist. Whenever the mind becomes concentrated, don't go there and entertain that very concentration and the immaterial pleasure, but instead employ it then and there for the Ditta Visuddhi. I think that is what today's talk. Thank you very much for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Almost 1.5 hours. So anyway, if someone has some questions or any other comments or any statements available, we can take time. Otherwise we will be going for the sharing medits and the marking the day's program, end of the day's program.
One day you spoke about the 62 views. My question really is, can we relate, or you didn't touch on the right view of the path and the understanding of the right view in relation to the Four Noble Truths and the law of karma. Can you just explain that, please?
Simply, the right view is no view. Any view is wrong. Any view is bias. you can completely live the life without any view. But we are so accustomed, so we hang out to this or that. So therefore, any view is wrong view. But Theravada tradition understands the Samma Ditti, kind of the correct view. Correct view is elimination of all the views. What is remaining is Samma Ditti. And that to itself is categorizing from the normal commoner's state to the enlightened being, Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi, Samatha Sammaditi, Vipassana Sammaditi, Magga Sammaditi, Phala Sammaditi. Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi is you make moral life thinking good begets good and the bad begets bad. That is the way we can live in the ethical understanding with the other society. When that give a fair space for you, you can go for Samatha Samadhi, go there and sit and meditate. And then if you are lucky to get the concentration, that is the Samatha Samadhi, you get rid of Nivaranas. And then you have to go for Ditti Visuddhi, that is the Vipassana Sammaditi. So when that happens, you understand, don't fork fingers to the phenomena. Just let it happen. Don't have any view. And the Buddha says, anything happen. Desire happens, the hatred happens, the sleepiness happens, doubts, remorse, future, everything you have to disclaim, this is not me, not mine, not myself. That means removal of the views. So then you are going for the advancement to the Magga Jnana, fulfilling the path. And there also the equanimity to the whole mental formations, sankhara means wish, the will, the volition, completely the equanimity, then only the phala jnana can happen. Otherwise, if you have any kind of a volition, any kind of intention, any kind of will, so much so you will be blocked before blocked to jump into the other show. So that is the point where all the views, all the sankhara means that volitions, all the wills are being completely abandoned. So that means sammaditi means no ditti. But this is the radical way of explaining. Otherwise, in the Dhampasal level or at the school Buddhist books, they are defining the sammaditi. But that is for the comparative one, for the to be in the day-to-day life. But when you take the spiritual life, the 5 kammasakata, samatha, vipassana, magga, phala is the way from the gross and involves ditti. You go to the ditti, it's a completely empty vessel, nothing in it. So therefore when you go home, you have something lost rather than gain. Sorry. And all the people coming for donation also, they give everything and go home empty. Yeah. So that meditators also, even the immaterial thing, you would have bought so much of volitions and will and motivations, and slowly, worn out skin, wear and tear.
Guru Swamin Wahanse. Now, mindfulness means now, here and I am. So when we say I am, won't we be propagating and enhancing the ego?
Yeah, that is why at the beginning you have to enhance it. First you have to be somebody before becoming nobody. Everything is very obscure. Everything is very, the ambiguity. The sila or the moral concentration, moral training means you are boosting up your ego. You have to understand that is the flow. That is the disadvantage. So whenever you are developing the sila in the flat rate, definitely you will be boosting up, telling I am wearing white, I am pure, and other people are not. So arrogance happens. But still if you know it, you can just be full of sila without arrogance. Because you know it. And when the concentration happens, Still you go try to fly on the air and walk on the water and sink in the ground, and all nonsense kind of come into being. So you are no more a normal being. So it's still the boosting up. When you come to the vipassana, chopping. Like onion. It's such a hack. So that's why people happy be with the morality and the concentration. They never come to the vipassana because it is hacking. Everything you collected, you cut off. Just like the Buddha mentioned the pruning of the crop. I mean apple crop. After fertilizing and everything, you have to prune. The same farmer growing it has to cut it from the very sharp knife, leaving the fruiting branches, all the unwanted things remove. But in the vipassana, you throw away the baby together with the basin. So that is why simply people are not practicing. I think I can really understand, because the whole desirable pretty thing you collected, you understand the flows. You slowly let it happen, let it go, let go. So when it happens, ultimately the ego, the very core things, or the conceit, your desire, everything is questionable. So therefore it's a utter lost from the samsara point of view. So therefore you have to first understand ego, I am. And then once fix it, you analyze it. Analyze and see there's no pit, there's no essence. But if you can't fix it, if you can't fix the cloth into the frame, you can't do embroidery. If you can't fix the piece of iron into the lathe machine, you can't do lathing, you can't do the liyavanawai kiyala kind of single in that cutting into the precision way. First you have to fix it. Likewise, you have to fix at the beginning the ego. And then you start slicing. As you like. The more and more polishing means more and more wear and tear. When you are sharpening the knife, more and more sharpness at the edge means daily it is wear and tear. In the vipassana also the same. Utter lost. Utter lost.
My mindfulness is very sharp and very alert.
At the beginning, its function is not equal to the middle, and the middle function is not to the end. The mindfulness itself is evolving. The object itself is evolving. So this evolution that I would say, that some people say that the human beings' evolution stopped 40,000 years ago. Exactly the same. They don't know that the dynamism of the evolution almost stagnating. But the Buddha is giving the balance of it within 7 days. Be mindful, the balance goes and you will be liberated. But if you not so, you can be happy with as a human, maybe another 40,000 years, no problem. You get a lot of companions there. But toward that side, very rare. Those who are telling the way liberating.
Honorable Bhante, I got 2 questions. The first question about 62 views. When we get rid of all the views, I understand someone become enlightenment or arahat. If my understanding is correct?
It explained in the gradual way. Sotapatti means sakkaya ditthi, very first stream is cut off. The example given in the commentators, there are in the forest here, this forest is very special, there are a lot of vines. You go to the west and see the forest, no vines, no creepers. The western forests are male, no females. Here the males and females. There's one vine is known as the Garandia, or the Puswell. That's the name is Pus, the silhouette, it's coming Pusu. So when it is growing, It is grow like a tree. It's a huge one, and it cover the whole canopy, the areas. And when it is flowering, whole flowers is yellow color. That's one vine is a Polgasovida, and it is thick. So commentator says, the cutting of Sakkaya Ditthi is the cutting of the main trunk of the vine. It is spreading so much of the area, to whole vine to die off or wilt take months. Because when the rain happens, the leaves are getting water. Enough air, enough sunlight, and reservation of food available. Even if it is cut off from there, the end twigs don't feel any difference. They keep on growing. But very specifically, commentator says, even under such situation, the growing of the buds can happen, even flowering can happen, but never produce seeds. When this thing is cut off, I don't know, that is their observation. Likewise, when the Sakkaya Ditthi is cut off, it is like cutting off of this big vine, but all the other branched views are growing. But definitely it is cut off from the ground. But then and there, when the rain happens, when the reserved food, they feel like growing. So therefore, Sakkaya Ditthi cut off, but other Ditthi, the tiny pieces, appear like growing. But they are definitely one day wilt off and go. So therefore, everything happened at the Arahant level, but the first main important thing happened at the Sotapatti level. The Ditthi basic hurdle is at the very beginning. The Sotapatti means the stream enterer. That means Sakkaya Ditthi gone. Once a Sakkaya Ditthi gone, even the whole vine appear like green, but it is now no more. No connection. So everything happens in the gradual way, that means.
Honorable Bhante, my second question. When we for Samma Sati, concise, the object we viewing, and we follow the same object and again and become smaller and smaller object. And when we follow the same object, small object, and become to the energy level, and then we understand it is nothing there. And once we understand nothing there, we don't focus on the thing. Is like a normal human being, or they understand there is an object. Once we understand nothing there, we don't need to go backward and thinking like that. So once we understand nothing there, so we finish our thinking up to the right view.
Not necessarily, but you have the total potential there. You have the total background there. The nothingness is perceivable nothingness, but underneath, when you establish it, you may see some perceivable level when the sensitivity increases. So in the sense that when the matter is being fully understood, you are exposed to the dark matter. From the matter point of view, dark matter is something negative. But invariably you can't do away with that. You will go to the dark matter, and then you will open a new sphere. And when you study the dark matter, you now see, now I am not only the matter and the dark matter, but you will go stuck with the dark energies. So ultimately it is going deeper and deeper. So therefore, the finishing or mastering of the matter is a very good sign you have the full potential. And not only that, you have reached that also. So never stop at that level. Don't go back. Go forward, and there you will expose into for example, whenever you are mastering the 4 elements, then you will be pushed into the space. Earth element, air element, water element, heat element that you master. Then you go to the space. Space is the shade of the matter. And our senses are not geared for the space. But when the matter becomes mastered, more and more mastery, our senses also develop in the sensitivity. Ultimately, you can feel the space. Something like after mastering about the 7 colors, you go to the X-rays and ultraviolet. And when you go there, you have the special purpose of the X-ray, even if you can't see it. And the ultraviolet also you can see, so you go. And you understand further there are some, the range, the spreading. So it's an inviting you to go there, and ultimately radio waves and the radar and all the spectrum come into being. But at the beginning you see VIBGYOR, violet, indigo, only 7. So that is what the whole world is. And that appears like a white color. But when you go to the other fringe, yet another one is coming from here, another one coming here. So if you go back again to the 7 colors, you will never be invited to the outer. So, but the Buddha says, take in that, go deep and deep there. So likewise, the matter is leading to the immaterial. Immaterial in the sense, the abhava prajñapti at bhava prajñapti. Bhava prajñapti means earth element, air element, water element, the heat element. Abhava prajñapti means the surrounding space. So when the early time when the people are talking about the surrounding space, that science was laughing at. But when the scientists meet with the dark energy, this is parallel with the space. But the Buddha says, when compared to the dark matter and dark energy or the space, matter is so tiny. It's sunya, it's void. So therefore it is leading one to one, close to the subtlety, and when you come to the mentality, it's a different sphere. Immaterial, but the mentality, something, the mental factors and the mind is a completely different thing, but it also has some pattern. Even though there is no gravity, there is no the measurability or repeatability. The behavioral patterns are there. In order to go into that, you have to sharpen your faculties with the help of available gross matter. It says, Yata pakatam vipassana biniveso pacha anupahantam tenapi upayano pattapetta sammasitabha. You start whatever the prominent thing, develop the mindfulness, and when the mindfulness develops, you go to the fringe. Over there, that becomes substantial, and they go into that, and then it leads to another fringe. Likewise, ultimately, everything will be covered based upon what is prominent. That means you are starting with the tip of the iceberg, and master it. Ultimately, in order to cover it, you have to go submerge. You have to go the submarine. Under there, and there only you see the real thing. Tip of the iceberg is just 10%.
When in meditation, when, for example, the body dissolves, when the body parts dissolve, is that a manifestation of that space? Or?
No, it's a gateway now. It's a gateway from the perceivable level to you can go to the unperceivable, and that means your faculties are going to go to another sensitivity level. And there it is fearful, uncertain, and monotonous, and it is appear like something damp or rotten, and don't feel like. So there you have to have the kind of a boldness, if I am allowed, a maleness, dash through. So many people come back, thinking that known area is much secured than the Dhammajiva hondai nodannaya kata wedi කියලා කියනවනේ. It's an English proverb, I think. We are always happy to marry. Happy marriage is the non-devil. So that is the Puthujjana world. But the Buddha says, if the devil, whether known, unknown, never mind, you dash, you go. Then you meet Buddha, not the devil.
Can it also be that there's a feeling like the mind is expanding and the body and mind, they're like mother and daughter, they're the neighbor?
You lose the boundary. You lose the in and out boundary, then that means that there are onward no choice. Specifically when you close the eyes, you have the mental boundary. It is the skin. Skin is our, that when your Buddha is explaining the 32 parts, Uddhang Ado Tala, Ado Uddang adotala kesamattaka tachapariyanta. From the head, the hair to down, and the soul to up, but is covered by the skin. That is what we call inner. So when you close also, that is our image. But when you are penetrating with the in-breath, down-breath, you lose this image. Sometimes over-enlarge, sometimes we shrink. So there you get scared. You develop fear. But the Buddha says, this is the way you understand in and out, far and near. So let that happen. They are valid facets.
Can it happen that you find delight after a while in it?
Delight of
when in this experience, when the fear is gone, that you really like it? Can that happen?
So if it is liking, you are Sappurisa. Otherwise you are Asappurisa. True man, noble man. Or the Sappurisa, Asappurisa also are considered when such a transition going to take place. If you are bold enough to go to the unknown, that is what we call the Sappurisa, the noble person. I mean, going against the grain. Patisodagami. But our rational mind is always pulling back us to the same cradle we are living. But Buddha says that is cowardliness. That is not the advancing nature. No boldness, no, how do you call the radical nature.
When somebody likes cessation, that means, when somebody likes to see the cessation in meditation, that means it's a good sign.
So that means he has to have a faith on the Buddha. He has to faith on Dhamma. He has to faith on Sangha. He has to faith on his own virtues. Otherwise, naturally, the shrinking back, come home. And Buddha says that is the day you jump into the other side and see the huge world, you will recognize that is real home. Now we lost here. This is a complete dream. This is a complete Maya. This is a complete kind of hallucination. That is real home. So, at the cost of the so-called the present world or the real world, you have to go into that world, and one day that will be your second nature. Then onward the death or any disaster, any catastrophe, any vicissitude is equally appreciated. It is not something discouraging. Okay, we are reaching 10 o'clock. Hoping there are no more statements or questions, we can go and mark the end of the day's program. So, today is 19th, I think calendar, and our 11th day. Very difficult to keep the track with. Oh yes, 11th day, I think 3 days more. 3 Dhamma talks. 3 days. So far, things happen very nicely and smoothly. So we must be really thankful for all the organizers and supporters, seen and unseen. So all the merits and the skillfulness we develop, we generously share with all the seen and unseen beings, and may they continue to support like this and share our merits. So we will rejoice together with them with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And equally share the merits and the skillfulness with our dear and near one, living and non-living. So may they in a position to see this, what we are doing, and rejoice the same together with us, stay with sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And may all these skillfulness and the merits help us to get the correct view and furthering with these 7 stages of purification in this very life and in this very dispensation of the Gautama the Buddha. With that we will be reciting all the stanzas traditional way to mark the formal end of the day. Ettavata changammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata changammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhutanumodantu. එත්තාවතා චගම්මේහි සම්පතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පතං සබ්බේ සත්තා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දීවා නාග මහිද්దికා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ශාසනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දීවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිत्वा චිරං රක්ඛන්තු සායවසනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දීවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිत्वा චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මං පරං ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතියෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතියෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු හිමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ ගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා සාදු සාදු සාදු